procedures used in our criminal justice system by researching and then presenting a mock trial. We will show you what we've learned. However, since we don't have time to tell you the whole story of our actual trial, we will be demonstrating in a quick fashion with a familiar story. Presenting the case of State versus Jack Beanstalk. Attention, the Second Circuit Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge So is now presiding.
We are here today for the case of State versus Jack Beanstalk. Please introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon. I'm Janessa Ward, attorney for the prosecution. I have two witnesses, Mrs. Giant and her husband, Mr. Giant.
Hello, I'm Blake Rosenow, attorney for my client, the defendant Jack Beanstalk. His mother, Mrs. Beanstalk, is also here.
We will begin the trial with the opening statements, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, one night in April, while Mr. and Mrs. Giant were home in their castle, someone broke into the castle and carried away their pet hen. Then he cut down the beanstalk, causing Mr. Giant to tumble to the ground. The evidence will show beyond a reasonable doubt that this person who cut the beanstalk was the defendant, Jack. We will also ask you to find Jack guilty of 1 count of theft and 1 count of attempted murder.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jack is a sweet young man, not a thief or murderer. The giant is a vicious, people-eating ogre who has plundered the villagers for years. Any items taken from the castle did not belong to the giant. Jack never tried to kill the giant. Thank you.
Call your first witness, please.
I would like to call Mrs. Giant to the stand.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Can you tell us what happened on April 4th?
Well, that young man suddenly appeared at my door. He was hungry, so I gave him milk and porridge.
Was your husband home?
Well, yes, he must have smelled Jack in the kitchen. As he came in, I told the lad to hide in the pantry because Mr. Giant is not terribly fond of English food.
What happened next?
My husband recited this cute little poem he does. Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. And I told him no, he was wrong. No Englishman was around.
Did that satisfy him?
It seemed to. He called for our pet, who hopped up next to him on the table and laid one of her golden eggs.
Could Jack see that?
Objection! How would she know?
Sustained.
What did you do then?
I gave my husband his dinner, 3 lambs from the village, and then he fell asleep with the hen beside him.
Tell us what happened later.
When I looked in on my husband later, I noticed the pantry door was open. The young lad was gone, and so was my dear hen.
And the old night she had laid?
She was gone too.
Did you ever see your hen again?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-exam.
Mrs. Giant, Jack here is an Englishman. How does your husband feel about Englishmen?
Well, I admit George has been known to eat 1 or 2.
That's all right.
You may sit down. Next witness, please.
I would like to call Mr. George Giant to the stand.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Can you please tell us what happened on April 4th?
Well, I was in the village doing a little plundering, and when I arrived back at the castle, I swore I smelled the blood of an Englishman.
Did you see anyone?
No, my wife said I was mistaken, so I sat down and ate my dinner.
Where was your hen at that time?
She was on the table there, and presto, she laid a golden egg.
After the hen laid her egg, what did you do?
I fell asleep, and when I woke up later, Mrs. Giant asked where the hen was.
Did you find the hen?
No, that thief stole it.
Objection!
Sustained.
Calm down, Mr. Giant. I know this is difficult. Did you ever see the hen again?
I went outside and saw him carrying my hen down the beanstalk.
Did you pursue him?
I tried to, but as I was climbing down, someone chopped down the beanstalk and I tumbled hard to the ground.
Were you okay?
No, I wasn't okay. I thought I was dead.
That's all.
Mr. Giant, where did you get the hen?
I got her in the village.
Isn't it true that you stole the hen?
No, your client stole her from me.
Isn't it also true that the villagers are all afraid of you because of your continual threats and even eating them?
I admit I would occasionally eat an Englishman.
Now you cannot even identify the person who took your hen down the beanstalk, can you?
It was him.
You were never close enough to identify him, were you?
Not by sight, but I could smell his blood.
Speaking of blood, that fee-fi-foam lyric you said, that isn't a complete song, is it?
There might be a few more words.
Like fee-fi-fo-fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread.
Something like that.
That's all.
Defense, do you want to call any witnesses?
I'd like to call Mrs. Beanstalk to the stand.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Tell us what happened first weeks of April.
Well, Jack climbed a giant beanstalk that had grown outside of our cottage.
When did you see him again?
Well, I was inside the cottage when I heard a loud crash. I looked out, and there was Mr. Giant, lying next to my garden, completely unconscious.
Did you see what happened, Mr. Giant?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-exam?
Mrs. Beanstalk, what kind of a boy is Jack?
He is a very honest boy who would never tell a lie or steal.
But did Jack bring a hen to your home?
Well, yes.
Is it true that you kept the hen and her golden eggs?
We only kept her for a little while.
No further questions.
Any more witnesses?
I'd like to call Jack Beanstalk to the stand.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
What happened when you went up the beanstalk?
I was amazed. Just to see the beanstalk was incredible. And then I ended up at the castle of the infamous Mr. Giant.
Did you go there to steal things?
Not at all. I was just curious. Even though I was also scared because it was well known that the giant hates Englishmen.
What happened after Mrs. Giant gave you a report?
I heard a voice louder than thunder. Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead. Well, I think you know how the rest goes.
Did that scare you?
Out of my wits! I hid in the pantry while the giant ate his dinner. I know the giant stole the hen from the villagers. So when he fell, asleep that is, I grabbed the hen and ran out of the castle. The giant was soon chasing me.
What happened next?
I scampered down the beanstalk. And then I grabbed an axe and chopped the beanstalk down.
Why did you do that?
Well, he threatened to grind my bones to make his bread.
Did you try to murder the giant?
No, I was only protecting myself.
No other questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Do you admit that you removed the hen from the castle?
Yes, but it did not belong to the giant. He had stolen it.
Jack, when you chopped down the beanstalk, you knew that the giant would likely be killed, didn't you?
No, I did not try to kill him.
Are you telling the jury that you were afraid of Mr. Giant because he recited a cute nursery rhyme?
A cute nursery rhyme? He was threatening to grind my bones to make his bread.
That's all, Your Honor.
I have no other witnesses, and we rest our case.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the evidence is now completed. We will now hear the closing arguments.
The defendant has admitted to going into the castle and removing the hen belonging to Mr. and Mrs. Giant. He meant to steal it. Jack also admitted to chopping down the beanstalk. Asked that you find him guilty. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are a good-looking jury. The prosecutor wants you to convict Jack even though what he took from the castle did not belong to Mr. and Mrs. Giant. The hen had been stolen. Jack did not attempt to murder anyone. He only attempted to save his own life from a creature who wanted to eat him. Jack acted in self-defense. Please find Jack not guilty. Thank you.
People of the jury, now you must decide, guilty or not. Thank you.